there is blatant corruption happening in the Premier League right now, and we need to talk about it. Now, I'm not one to, craft up conspiracy theories or suggest that things are not the way that they appear at face value, but there is a growing problem that is happening towards certain clubs in this league, and there are certain biases that are being very clear to see, being shown and implemented in every single game, every single week. Now, I mentioned at the start of the season when I was doing my Premier League predictions that I thought that Liverpool were going to get some certain preferential treatment when it comes to the referees. That has largely been the case, but it's not just them. There's a lot of this weird bias, and it's been happening for years, right? We've obviously there's the quote that Mourinho has said back in the day of, "Oh, there's an agenda against Chelsea." In general, there's just an agenda not just against Chelsea, but against a lot of teams that have to come up against these northern clubs. Now, there obviously is a long history when it comes to the Premier League with certain teams, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United being some of them. And it's a farce that pretty much every single week there are these big horrible decisions going against teams that are facing these three clubs specifically, and some others which is less at the time. And as a fan of a club that is not one of those three clubs and often has to come up against this very clear bias against our team, it is getting utterly ridiculous at this point, and it is frustrating me to no end. When I do my post-match breakdowns on the Grayscale, I often have to talk about the referees for about half of the time of the video when it's supposed to be a seventh of the portion of the video. It is getting to the point where I'm getting so just sick and tired of having to talk about controversial decisions in every single one of our games going against us. It is not a coincidence at this point. It can't be. It just can't be a coincidence. And I know they try and hide behind this kind of mask of like incompetence as that it's just that the English referees are bad, all this stuff. It can't be at this point. It can't just be, you can't weaponize that incompetence. It's not possible anymore. There is a clear and utter bias towards certain teams in this league, and they get decisions that we don't get. There's been a few this weekend which are just utterly egregious to me. Let's start with the Liverpool game. Obviously, there's been a big kind of talking point about Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall getting yellow carded for taking a free kick too quickly. I don't understand what that is. As Jack Grealish said in his interview, I don't think he said that he has not ever seen anyone given a yellow card for taking a free kick too quickly before, and personally, I have not either. Usually you get yellow cards for time wasting, not for trying to speed up the game. This is, again, really weird. It's happened against a team that's obviously facing Liverpool. There's been the added time situation in that game too, where they've only added on 3 minutes, which is almost unheard of at this point in the way that they're supposed to calculate time now. And it's very suspicious how it only happens when Liverpool are trying to hold on to a lead, or Liverpool when they try and get back into a game. For example, let's talk about the Newcastle game. There's 11 minutes of added time. It's genuinely shocking at this point. It's not funny anymore. And Liverpool are just one of the clubs. Manchester United are another club that gets favourable decisions. In this game that we've just played against them, they've had so many decisions goes their way. And I sit here watching the game on my watch along, completely and utterly confused, like I'm in a dream. Watching pretty much every decision go their way and us just being screwed out of it. And it's funny at this point. You just have to look at it and laugh because you don't really know what else you can do. And we've been rather screwed out of a quite a famous comeback. In this game, simply because the referees can't do their jobs right, or they are being instructed by a higher power to not give these decisions our way. We obviously have had this whole situation, and it goes all the way back to the Fulham game, right? It goes back to the Fulham game, where we have this correct decision from disallowing Josh King's goal, and because of the commentary talking about it so much and it blowing up so much in the media, it has ruined our season. It is single-handedly that one decision that the referee has made there has ruined our season, because we are going to get no decisions for us ever again. Because any referee is going to be too scared to help Chelsea anymore. Because that's the precedent that they've set now. It's that if you help Chelsea, if you overturn a decision, or the VAR awards something towards us, you're going to get taken away from games for 2 weeks. You're going to get fines. You're going to get all this, again, criticism in the media. No referee is stupid enough nowadays to give a decision our way. And that is clear to see from this Manchester United game. And I'm going to try and show some examples of this. First things first, let's talk about the decision to send off Sanchez. Because this one is, again, most people would say that this is quite cut and dry. If you look at it, it looks like he takes out the player. If you look at it in slow motion, Sanchez wins the ball. He does win the ball. He gets the ball first and then gets the man after. And normally when there's a follow through, it is never ever a red card unless it is severely dangerous. The reason why they've given this though is not because of the severity of the challenge. The reason why they've given this is because it's stopping a goal scoring opportunity, right? A lot of the time when you stop a goal scoring opportunity, it's a red card. However, if you look in the replay, there are 2 Chelsea defenders covering the run through on goal. If this is any other player other than a goalkeeper, this is not given as a red card, it's given as a yellow. And I think that this is absolutely egregious, again, because he wins the ball, albeit after Bryan Mbeumo has won the ball himself. He does touch the ball, then collides with the man. That is a decision that ruins the whole game for us from the start. That's not as bad as some of the ones that happen after, but which we'll talk about in a second here, but it sets the precedent immediately of, okay, this is not going to be our night. And after what happened in the Brentford game as well, the game before this, where we have a really clear, blatant offside goal allowed to stand for Fabio Carvalho, and then we obviously don't win that game because of it. It's getting to the stage now where we might as well just give up, shouldn't we? We might as well not even bother expecting to get fair refereeing in this league anymore, because there is clear instructions or clear kind of, overarching themes that have been sent to these referees to not do certain things or not give certain teams certain things, and it's just disgusting. It's just disgusting, and it's gotten even worse in the last few years for us specifically. Again, I feel like going back even 5 years ago, it wasn't this bad, and even though it was still kind of bad against us, admittedly, but in recent years, the last 2 years specifically, last 2 or 3 years, the decisions that have been going against us have just been utterly ridiculous, and especially against Manchester United. We've had so many of these horrible decisions against us when it comes to Man United, like that Harry Maguire kicking Chalobah in the nuts, not getting a red card for it thing, the Harry Maguire having 2 hands wrapped around Azpilicueta on the corner, not being given as a penalty kind of thing. Every single time we face this club, this happens, and it's no surprise that it's at Old Trafford. If this is at Stamford Bridge, maybe it doesn't happen as much. I don't know. Maybe it's the referees being conned by the crowd. I don't know. But it's very, very suspicious that it always happens against Manchester United. It always happens against Liverpool. It always happens against Arsenal. It always happens to these very specific clubs that have got this long history with the Premier League. And it doesn't happen to these, up-and-coming clubs that are doing really well, like Newcastle, like Chelsea, like Manchester City, for example. It doesn't happen to those clubs. We don't get the same treatment that they do. And it feels like it's not ever going to stop, because I feel like our club and the people that run our club are too nice in a way. They're not outspoken enough to call out the PGMOL and this bullshit that's happening to us. There are other clubs like Nottingham Forest, I think Everton as well, Wolves, for example, that have come out in the past and said how corrupt this league is and how horrible it is towards certain teams. And we have not jumped on that bandwagon. And unfortunately, because a lot of the big teams, again, the 3 that I mentioned, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, because those 3 are the ones that are kind of, getting the calls going their ways, there isn't enough of the big clubs kind of making a fuss about it for them to ever give a shit. And they basically just ignore all the small clubs that are asking for, not even preferential treatment, just fair officiating, and they just ignore it. I feel like there needs to be, a little bit of a coup, let's say. It needs to be some kind of stand being made at this point, because, again, we're only 5 weeks into the season, and we've already had 3 games out of 5 that have got some kind of horrible decision in it that have ruined the game for us already. It's just ridiculous. Let's go over some more of the decisions. I think the next thing we can talk about is this really silly allowed goal for Bruno Fernandes that gets them 2 goals up. This is an offside. It's clearly an offside. They take so long to check it as well, which is ridiculous. If you're going to take this long, there's obviously something wrong with it, right? There's obviously something wrong with it if you're looking into it this much. The graphics that they show us shows Bruno's sleeve going through the line for offside and him apparently not being offside. Okay, that's the first thing. That's okay. I don't get it. First of all, second of all, the player in front of Chalobah, who is directly interfering with play, who is stopping him from being able to get the ball cleanly, is also offside, way clearer than Bruno is. This goal shouldn't have stood. Simple as that. It shouldn't have stood. And then when they rightfully get their red card afterwards, which again, people are going to compete. I know the United fans are complaining about this, but when you're on a yellow card and you drag someone back from a break, that's going to be a second yellow card. Like, you're not allowed to do that. And ironically, the same thing happens to one of our players when we were breaking up the pitch again. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Luke Shaw who did it. Doesn't get a yellow for it. Again, why would they? Why would they give a yellow for it? Because it's the shirt is red, so they're not going to give it. Then the one which I think is really, really poor. And again, this is the one that frustrates me the most, because this is clear. And if you just look at replays, any person that has eyes, we have the replays, we can see the videos. Any person that has eyes can see that this foul, this challenge from Mazraoui on João Pedro in the area is a foul. It's clumsy, it might be a little soft, but it's clumsy, and he does not make contact on the ball. João Pedro gets the ball first, he takes him out, and they don't give a penalty. And this frustrates me more than anything else, because this is genuinely just a clear and obvious example of them ignoring what is actually happening in games. Because any person that looks at that replay and you slow it down, you can see João Pedro wins the ball, then he gets his leg hit by Mazraoui as he steps across, he runs into his thigh, and they don't call it. Now, that would be fine if they didn't call it, but isn't that the exact same scenario that happens with Mbeumo earlier in the game, when Sanchez gets his red card, where he gets the ball, he wins the ball, and then gets tackled after, and they give that, right? I think it's ridiculous that they can say one is a foul, and say one is a red card, and not say the other one is a foul, and it's not a penalty. Because they're the exact same scenario, pretty much. It's the same scenario where a player is running through on goal, he gets a touch on the ball first, the defender, or in this case the goalkeeper for Sanchez's sake, but the defender gets to the ball later, hits the man, it's a foul, right? So I put it to you, I put it to the referees to somehow try and come out and explain why they are not giving both. You either have to give both or give neither. That's how it has to happen. It's the way that has to happen, because it's clear that they want to give those fouls when it comes to certain teams, again, like Manchester United, and then when it's us, they say, fuck you. They say, fuck you. You're not allowed it. And we have to work so much fucking harder to get any kind of decision. The fouls have to be so much more egregious and so much worse on us for them to ever count. And that just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't sit right with me that this happens to other teams too. It's not just Chelsea. I'm annoyed because I'm a Chelsea fan and it happens to our team. But I see it happen to other clubs and they must be pissed off too. Again, like Wolves, like Everton, like Nottingham Forest, for example. These types of teams get screwed over every single week, it seems like, against these certain clubs. And it's just getting to the point where it is so frustrating because it feels like I don't want to watch the game anymore. Like, I sit there on my watch along last night, and I'm sitting there, head in my hands like this, watching the game, thinking, I want to turn this off. I don't want to watch it anymore. And that pisses me off because this is something that I love. This is a sport that I've enjoyed for 27 years of my life. This is a medium that I like to consume for 27 years of my life. And to finally be at a stage now where I just don't want to watch it at all and genuinely feel like it's being taken away from me, it's just, I don't like it. And I run a channel that is obviously dedicated to football. It's dedicated to Chelsea Football Club specifically, but dedicated to football. And tell me why I am now in a situation where I'm genuinely dreading having to make videos on this channel, because pretty much every single time I have to break down a game, I have to talk about referees. I have to talk about these faceless wankers that just get their fucking jobs wrong every single week. It pisses me off, man. Really pisses me off. I obviously have a big kind of, affinity for tactics. I have a big affinity for the little intricate things and the little intricate details and breaking down things step by step. Something I love doing. It's why I can analytically look at these types of decisions and rationalize things and, look at things with context and break these types of decisions down. But I don't want to. I just don't want to. I want to focus on the football. I want to focus on the talented players that are on the pitch. I want to focus on the kind of, again, technical ability and the tactics of certain coaches, for example. I don't want to be talking about controversial decisions every single week. And again, I'm not one for conspiracies, but it's rather interesting, isn't it, that there has to be some kind of controversial decision every week. For what in one game there has to be. There has to be something for the media to spin for the whole week until the next Premier League weekend. There has to be some kind of drama that has happened that isn't just, a player doing well or a player doing poorly, for example. It has to be some kind of controversy every single week. It's almost like it's manufactured. And it just annoys me. I don't like it. It feels so fake. It feels so unrealistic and, preconceived, made up. It's just, there's no soul behind the sport anymore. I think that's what I can say, and it's, again, it's making me sad. It genuinely makes me sad because this is something that I've enjoyed for the majority of my life, and I run a channel based on this giant medium, this giant genre of content when it comes to sport and football, etc. And it's genuinely making me not like it anymore. Now, I don't know if we need to start, making petitions or going on protests or what have you. But until this changes, we are going to see a horrible, horrible dominance from Liverpool, from Manchester United, from Arsenal for years to come. It's going to be the situation because the referees have way more of a say in games than I think people kind of realise. I think that a lot of people don't realise how much these tiny little things can affect whole games, and how whole games can affect entire seasons, and entire seasons can affect entire businesses. One of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot in football is the mental aspect of football, the psychology of football, and how these types of decisions can just make teams play completely differently. And this is exactly what happens to us in this game. We look like we're up for the game in the first few minutes. Red card happens, our heads drop completely, we cannot get back into the game. And then when we're surging back into the game and, we're going to, try and get back into the game, and obviously they get the red card and we've got that kind of, the wind under our sails, we go forward, we get, a good opportunity to get into the box, get a penalty, and they don't give it to us. And then again, the heads drop. Because it's like, what's the point? What's the point in the players even bothering? What's the point in the players trying? When they can't do anything. They try their hardest to, get back into the game, and every single time that we try our hardest, we get screwed over by some prick in a yellow shirt with a fucking whistle and a stupid little stopwatch. It's stupid. If I was playing football and that was happening to me, I would walk off the pitch. I would genuinely start walking off the pitch because it's just getting ridiculous. Between the goal that is offside, the debatable red card, the clear penalty not given, and there's also one on Enzo, which is never given a replay, by the way, late on in the game too, which we can't really confirm whether that's a pen or not because they never showed it again. Interesting that they didn't do that. Between all of that and then the offside goal at Brentford, the controversy and us getting shit for, a foul being committed against one of our players in the Fulham game and it being rightly given as a foul, I'm just tired. I'm just tired of it, and it's a shame now because obviously on this channel, in recent times I've been obviously adding. Recently on this channel I've been doing different things in terms of doing some EA FC stuff, and I'm enjoying that much more than actually talking about football. I'm doing that more than actually enjoying watching teams play. I don't find myself watching other games anymore. I just watch the Chelsea games because I have to. I'm a supporter. Obviously I do this for this channel as well, but like I don't wake up ever again kind of going, oh, you know what, I want to watch this, I want to watch this Liverpool Arsenal game, or I want to watch this Liverpool Everton game because it's it's a derby, it's going to be a good game. No, I feel like I don't want to watch it because I just know what's going to happen. The script is already written. The certain teams are going to win, and again, other teams have to fight so much harder to get results in this business now. And no matter how hard certain teams try, they are always going to be screwed over. And it feels like that we are one of those teams. But every single person in this industry, from the pundits to the media to the referees, are all these northern guys are all these guys that support either Liverpool or United or Arsenal, you know, one of the big three. What can you do? There's no representatives for certain clubs. There's no representatives specifically for Chelsea, really. Sometimes they get Joe Cole on there, and then he's, you know, being forced to say certain things about certain decisions, which he clearly doesn't agree with. So there we go. And I say credit to certain players that speak up about this, certain managers that speak up about this, because there aren't a lot of them. Credit to Jack Grealish in his interview for, you know, rightfully calling out the referee for the weird yellow card in their game and the added time situation in their game. I feel like more players need to do that. I feel like more managers need to do that. I think more club owners need to do that. I feel like it needs to be a thing that isn't just, you know, there's this giant controversy around certain decisions on Twitter for half a day or, you know, for a couple of days, and then it just dies down and no one cares ever again. And it's annoying because we obviously go into our next game. I say this as a Chelsea fan, we go into our next game after having this horrible thing against us in the United game, and we're going up against Brighton, and they're a good club. You know, they're a good club. They've got good players. And I don't go into that game thinking, oh, you know, that'll be a good game, that'll be a fun game, that'll be a good tactical battle. I don't think that. I go into the game thinking, God, I hope we don't get screwed this time. I hope that Brighton don't get some random penalty that gives them the game or something. And I'm not just calling out Brighton or anything. They're just the next game that we have. But yeah, after that game, we've obviously got Liverpool. And I really don't expect us to get anything from that, because why would we? We're not Liverpool. We don't get these decisions. Our shirts are blue. Our shirts aren't red. This has been a bit of a ramble, and I do want to, you know, get a discussion going. Is there other, you know, other fans of other clubs that aren't Chelsea that also feel this way? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to, you know, see if I'm going crazy, because I feel like I'm going crazy. I feel like I'm having to speak like a you know, a conspiracy theorist delusional loser when I'm talking about things I see with my eyes every single weekend. So please make sure you validate my concerns down in the comments below. And yeah, I look forward to the next couple of games, and hopefully we don't get screwed by the referees again, because I don't want to talk about them. I don't want to do it. They force me to. I do think that when it comes to certain decisions and it comes to certain referees and certain teams, it really does feel like it's us versus them, in a way. Us up against it, and it's kind of ironic. I end every single video with my outro saying that, you know, football can be as simple as black and white, but sometimes it just doesn't seem that way, does it? If you enjoyed this ramble, don't forget to leave it a like, helps out the channel massively, and if you want more content like this and more tactical content as well, don't forget to subscribe. That's the best way to get these videos into your sub box and on your homepage. Thank you guys so much for listening, as ever, and remember, football can be as simple as black and white.